I need you to understand something. And so, Brave continued his daily patrol, fearlessly inspecting every corner of the farmyard. The Basset Hound's sleep cycle is immediate. He's drifting off right there on the threshold.
For Scaredy, every shadow and sound in this new place presents a potential threat. There's something warm and animal and specific. I squared my shoulders. I walked into the barn. This barn is ours now. Here we see Scaredy employing his invisible strategy, pressing flat against the post in hopes of disappearing. This barn is much bigger inside than it appears from the outside. Troublemaker is being surprisingly patient, which is unusual for him. There was a shape, a dark shape.
Hi, I'm Lilica. Brave thinks he's fearless, but a farm cat is a whole different level of boss. Stop the cat chase drama. Transform your pup at ZigglerPix.com. Link pinned below.
A large, dark shape. My feet stopped. My neck went stiff. The fur along my back made a decision without consulting me. This is a covering all bases bark, meaning, I see you. I am aware of you. The shape did not move. And then it moved. It descended. It reached the bottom bale. It paused. It looked at me. While Brave stands alert in the open and Troublemaker watches from the corner, Scaredy hides pressed flat behind a post. It sat down, just sat down, in the middle of the barn floor in a bar of dusty light. It is a look of complete indifference, executed with flawless precision. Nothing to prove. I stood very still. The cat's tail moved once, slowly, at the tip. Like punctuation. Right. Okay. I see you. He blinks with the leisure of something that has all the time in the world, because time belongs to it. Then the cat opened its mouth. It looked away from me. It turned its enormous head and looked at Troublemaker. The expression he gets when he has identified something he is about to approach without thinking about it at all. He approached with his nose lead-in. 6 inches, then 5 inches, then 4. The cat's paw moved. It sounded like a period at the end of a very long sentence. Troublemaker sat down immediately. He sat down and he made a small sound chow, not a yelp, nothing that hurt Che, but a sound of complete surprise. The cat looked at him for a moment, then looked away. Behind his post, Scaredy had not moved at all. He had somehow arranged himself to take up less space. Barnaby possessed a serene authority, holding ownership of this space since before any of them were born. Sleepy was breathing slowly, making the small satisfied sound he makes when he is warm and comfortable and entirely unaware. The cat turned its head. It looked at Sleepy. Sleepy did not wake up. It walked the way it did everything, with complete certainty, with each paw placed exactly where it intended. The cat stopped beside Sleepy. It looked down at Sleepy. It looked down at Sleepy. It leaned down slightly, enormous head lowering, and it sniffed at the back of Sleepy's neck with a very small, careful sniff. Then the cat opened its mouth. The sound that came out was not a hiss. It was larger than a hiss. Every hair I had stood straight up. Troublemaker made a sound that I will not describe, indeed he would not want it described. Scaredy, behind his post, was so flat against the wood that he appeared to have merged with it. The tall woman with the good pockets had her whole face in her hand now, and her shoulders were shaky very hard. Miss Sleepy opened one eye. Both of them, actually, both wide now, both suddenly and completely awake, and he went from horizontal to vertical in a way that should not have been physically possible. From asleep to standing to several feet. He was pressed against the wall beside me now, both eyes fully open, reading fast. His face had an expression I had never seen on it, the face of a thing that has just been reminded, at close range, that it's lies. He looked at me. I looked at him. Yeah, I know. The cat was not looking at Sleepy anymore. The cat had already moved on. Twice, and lay down. It lay down with such complete finality that the act itself felt like a statement, and it looked out at us, all four of us, ranged along our respective walls and posts. And the look had not changed at all. It arranged its enormous paws in front of it, and it looked at us with that boredom, that absolute and genuine boredom, that phallus. We were not threats. We were not prey. We were the new ones. While the troublemaker sits surprisingly still, Scaredy hives behind the post, and Sleepy watches intently. The tall woman with the good pockets came into the barn properly.
Hey there, Barnaby. You doing okay, buddy? Something passed between them, not in sound. Something old and established. Barnaby, which I understood to be the cat's name. I filed this immediately. Barnaby! Be nice. She picked up her bucket and walked back through the big door, and her shoulders, as she walked away, were doing the shaking thing again.
We were alone, the four of us, and Barnaby. Sleepy moved first. This surprised everyone, including, I think, Sleepy himself. He moved away from the wall in small steps, slow steps, the very different kind of slow from his normal slow. He stopped approximately 4 feet from Barnaby, and he sat down. He did not approach. He sat down at 4 feet, and he looked at Barnaby, and Barnaby looked at him, and there was a long moment where nothing happened at all. Then Barnaby looked away. It was the look of a thing that has examined something and found it acceptable. As Sleepy's tail moved, slowly, once, and he lay down at 4 feet from Barnaby and closed his eyes. I stared at this for a long time. Troublemaker was watching too. He was doing the math.
He walked across the barn floor at a diagonal, giving Barnaby a wide arc, and he sat down on the other side at about 5 feet.
Barnaby looked at him with the same assessment look he had given Sleepy. And the verdict came back. It came back in the looking away, in the settling of that enormous head back onto those. Troublemaker lay down too, a little sprawled, like he was trying to make it look casual, like this had been his plan all along. That left me and Scaredy. Scaredy had emerged from behind his post during all of this. He was recalibrating. He looked at me. I looked forward. Slowly, low, head down but not in fear fawn, in something more like acknowledgement. He walked to about 6 feet from Barnaby, and he lay down flat with his chin on his paws, and he watched. The assessment came. Barnaby looked at him for several seconds longer than he had looked at Sleepy or Troublemaker, and in those Italians, And then Barnaby looked away, and the verdict was, fine. I looked at what had happened. Sleepy and Troublemaker and Scaredy all arrayed around Barnaby at their respect. Scaredy's eyes closed halfway with a relief I could feel across the barn. You cannot change the hands that something belongs to by announcing that it is yours. It sat Hungaby, Barnaby in the center, enormous and graying and specific, lying in his eyes half closed. Something in B gets quiet enough to move without deciding to move. Neutral, I think. I walked to 5 feet from Barnaby and I sat. Barnaby opened his eyes fully. He looked at me. He looked at me with those eyes that were the color of the shallow end of deep water. I did not look away. I am brave. I looked back, and I let him look. Barnaby looked away. The verdict, fine. The assessment took longer with me than it had with any of the others. I do not know why. Ineffability. I stayed sitting for a moment because I wanted to make sure I had actually received the narrate, and as I lay down. I lay down facing him at 5 feet, and I put my chin on my paws and I watched him. His eyes closed, fully this time, all the way. The great chest rose and fell. I thought about the word brave. But bravery is not the absence of being afraid. Bravery is the Barnaby knew this. He had always known this. He had been teaching it since before we arrived. We lay around him house, the 4 of us, brave and Troublemaker and Scaredy and Sleepy Hay.
We lay around him, the 4 of us, at our various distances in the dusty hay, in the long, flat Mate 7.
The warm, animal-specific smell was Barnaby's smell, I understood now. I knew now. His tail moved once, slowly, at the tip, in his sleep. Mine moved too, not in agreement, not in submission, in something more honest than either.
And then she went back out, and I could hear her, faintly, through the wooden walls and the warm air.
Troublemaker was investigating the grain bin behind the red tractor, not the one near the front of the barn.
He was nose down behind the tractor making the focused investigations when he stopped. Troublemaker was not investigating anymore. Troublemaker was standing very still behind the tractor, with his... Something had moved inside the grain bin. I looked at Troublemaker. I looked at the grain bin. I was at the far end of the barn face. I had been maintaining the respectable... Barnaby was looking at the grain bin with an expression I hadn't seen before. Not boredom, not surprise, something that was paras, I thought, frap related to amusement things they find sublime. Troublemaker looked at me.
There was a sound from inside the grain bin. A small, specific, deliberate sound. There is a whole second barn on the other side of the property. I heard this from Scaredy, who heard it from the chickens. Barnaby watched us from the top of the hay bales. His tail moved once. I have decided this means something.